But
like,
yeah, but I have now bear
is.
in mind though, you have especially from what I've heard, those kinds of games are real popular in the back in my day.
We're live now.
Oh
Uh-oh.
no.
I gotta step away for just a sec. I'll be right back.
All good.
Watch out for hyenas and dingoes.
But yeah, this is episode 80 now. Jeez. Episode 80 of Cast in the Shadows, where we just talk about all things escapism. Most of the time, Star Citizen. Been on a 2-week hiatus. It's gonna be a longer hiatus after this, but
Damn it, Mando.
yes, we all have jobs outside of this podcast. This is not a job for us, so it's not like I have to prioritize it suddenly.
But think
Wait,
of both
you
of our
promised a
viewers.
paycheck, Mando.
I also promised you the moon, the stars, and you still slept with me. Okay.
Oh, baby. Look, that was just because you had the barbecue sauce.
Ah, of course.
And now, a segue to our sponsor, Baby Ray. No.
Raid Shadow Legend. Okay.
Yeah, that too.
Mobile games we talked about earlier.
Honestly, we shouldn't even joke about them on the idea that any coverage is good coverage. We shouldn't even fucking joke about those assholes, but...
Yeah, what's their competitor?
Life.
Life is their competitor.
What you guys are talking
Our
about.
show is sponsored by Life.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah,
We
don't
were
know.
making fun of all just
And
mentioning
just
their
the
name
joke,
is essentially
it's
like
some-
it's like promotional
It's
for
a
them. So.
predatory MMO that really all it's really known for is paying people to show for it, to try to increase their player base, because people are always fucking leaving it because it's a shitty game, from what I understand.
It's like
and
all
so
the
they're
other
always trying to get
MMO.
more players.
It's like a mobile, although it's not only mobile, right? Whatever. It's a extortion game posing as an MMO. Like most of
Sounds
the
like
games
we've
today.
already expended too much effort on the subject.
Agreed. So moving on to the topic that we're supposed to be talking about, Star Citizen. It's been a busy-ish 2 weeks with the Ship Showdown and all. We also got the studio report for both Squadron 42 and Star Citizen for the month of August. Sorry, trying to remember what.
September.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, so the first off, the ship. You guys want to just jump into the Ship Showdown stuff because that'll be real quick.
Sure.
So the Carrick one.
Yay.
First off, for the part that is important to anyone who either doesn't know or does know about the Ship Showdown and everything relating to it, the top 4 ships of the Ship Showdown get a unique skin during the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo in November. The skin is usually based on the color scheme of the expo that year. So, for instance, the Cutlass Black I fly around in a lot has a white, black and gold color scheme. That's the Best in Show 2950 from the 2020 Expo. So,
so it's mostly like a white paint job, gold highlights, and then it gets the canopy glass gets a gold tint to it.
Yep. So this time around, we don't know what the colors are for the Expo this year yet.
Hope it won't be purple again.
I mean, if they're gonna do purple, I hope. Well, the problem I had with the 2949 Expo was they had this pink and white, which actually looked pretty good for the logo, and then the ship paints were this off-white with purple, and it just looked horrendous.
It did.
Especially since it was off-white with purple being the secondary as opposed to like hot pink being the primary with white being like the accent secondary and like the logo.
That at least would have some like Valentine's Day.
It would have. I mean, it may not be something I want to fly in, but it had a good color palette. This one didn't.
So, but I mean, they especially I would say what was last year's?
Last year's was black and blue.
Yeah, so
blue and black.
So we've had white and gold, we've had black and blue, which have both been pretty good. So I mean, they've definitely been a lot better since the first one, where it was just like, eh.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Last year, it was kind of they wanted to do something based on Crusader, so I think it was like a blue and white for the logo, but then they used blue and black for the ships, and it looked okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it was as like what's your face? Didn't have as much pizzazz as the 2950. I don't think.
Yeah.
It just looked like a regular paint job, but granted, those aren't available right now. Regular paint jobs, at least not for all ships. So people were happy.
Yeah. What was that?
Go ahead.
No, you were gonna say something.
I'm just. I got nothing to base it off of, but I don't know why I have this feeling that they come up with the paint schemes by like kind of what they think is going to be the winner, and they tell an artist like, hey, come up with a paint scheme that you think looks good for this, and then once they choose kind of like the one that they like for that ship, they kind of go, okay, this is going to be the paint scheme no matter what ship wins, kind of a thing. That's the feel that I get, but I got nothing to factual to base that off.
You just spitball and see.
I mean, it's entirely possible.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but we have no idea and no way of confirming that. At least not at the moment.
Yeah, I get the feeling kind of sometimes that like the paint scheme will look really good on one ship, and you're like, wow, like I can see why, if I look at it on that ship, I can see why. They like that paint scheme, but then you see that same paint scheme added to a different ship, and you're like, ooh, that's really bad. And to me, that would kind of that's where I guess I'm coming from in that mindset. But again, nothing based on fact.
I mean, it does have some merit in that. Like you look at even the 2950, which I'd say is arguably the best paint for the Best in Show, and I would say like some ships do pull that look off better than others. Namely, the Eclipse and the Cutlass. And the Valkyrie. I forgot the Valkyrie was that year, and it had like the gold pinstripes on it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the Carrack, I felt, it looked good, but didn't look as cool as the others.
The one that I last really remember it kind of sticking out at me was the Caterpillar. I remember seeing seeing a paint scheme on it that I was just like, ooh, that is just really, really bad.
That was the white, the off-white and purple one, right, from 2949.
Yeah, I think so.
Because it didn't have any other year. That was not good.
Yeah. But I mean, to me, kind of go in the same thing as you guys we had talked about previous times. The ship show is just kind of a meh for me.
Until there's some substance to it, it means nothing, right?
Yeah.
I would really like to see it actually. I would like to see it be a thing in the sense that they actually have categories where the ships are are actually somewhat matching up with each other, that are going up against each other. In other words, like light fighters against light fighters, or maybe
Or
if
mining
they
and
feel there's
salvage, because like for instance, I know this is going to be a weird thing, but hear me out. Like you have a mining category, and I can hear someone saying, but it wouldn't be unfair to have the prospector up against, say, the mole or even the Orion. And you know what? And I say no, it wouldn't, because how many people enjoy solo mining compared to how many people enjoy group mining to the massive Orion type mining when that's eventually a thing. So there's going to be different. You have over how many? What 4 million backers? Not sorry backers, but 4 million Star Citizens, of which I'd estimate that 75% of being backers, and like that's a lot of people with very different playstyles to each other.
I do like
well,
the idea
I,
of having well, go on.
sorry, just throwing this in here. Another thing to do would be to kind of cancel out that whole, like, people saying, well, one ship's always going to win. Really simple rule to put into effect is whatever ship won last year in that category is not eligible the next year. It has to take a year off. Like, so that way you get some mix. And then,
Right.
but also with all that going, all those brackets going on, I would also like to see a community voter bracket where every single ship, except for the ones that won last year, are eligible as a mass group that the community gets to just keep voting on. Each cycle, each voting bracket, you get to go in and select any ship, and that way you're getting a bracket that CIG has put together that's kind of like just their fighters and their utilities and their explorers, or however they break it out. But then you've also got just every ship being selected by the community, and whichever one has the top votes at the end.
Like this is really
That's
just
like,
all ships, save for the ones that won the previous year, and just whichever one gets
yes,
the most votes. Like literally just the most
yep.
voted of every ship. Yeah. So just there can only be one winner.
And then have that be like a runner up, or like the third contestant at the very, very end, maybe, or something like that. Like that way you're getting, so then you're getting CIG's bracketing, but you're also getting community involvement, because there's a chance that the community gets to actually have a say. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we don't agree with whatever your bracket structure was
Yeah.
this year. Like, it gives buy-in to the community. Anyways, I made that long-winded. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. I think
No.
it's a good idea. And Cam, yeah, you can talk. Yeah.
Yeah, with the categories, I do think categories would be a good idea. So you do have like ships with like ships. So you don't have things like, here's the Carrack versus the Blade, for example.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Carrack's gonna win, hands down. But on the other hand, though, especially in some categories, and it would depend how you're dividing these categories up. But even, I mean, for example, let's say if your category is mining, cool. Got what, 3 ships in there?
Yep.
5 if you include ground vehicles? And even if you kill out whatever your last year's winner was, that's still giving you 4 to pick from. It's like that's a pretty damn small bracket to even
That's
start
And it'll
with.
get smaller on other,
that's
like salvage is going to be even smaller.
Yeah.
Even medium and
that's why
heavy
I was using
fighters.
utility, because to me that would
Hmm.
let you, like, put the vulture up against the prospector or something like that. Like, it widens your field a little, but it's not putting a mining ship up against a light fighter. You know what I mean? Like, utility still gives you it. You're absolutely right, Cam, in that you need to choose those categories correctly to make it worthwhile. And to me, that would be the critical part, is what is a light fighter? Like, some people, there's always going to be argument about that. So maybe it's just fighters. So that way you do have the chance of a Gladius going up against, a Warden or something. I don't know. but
or maybe you
at
do it
least
by
they're
crew size, right? Like what single seat ships, like where it's just the cockpit and nothing else, no interior. Single seat ships that have a living space, also an Aurora or even a Prospector, that sort of thing, and kind of go that way.
Yeah.
But the problem is, as Cam mentioned, like you're having a Carrack go up against, say, a Vanduul blade or a Asperia blade. The Carrack's gonna win.
Yeah. And who knows? Like, hey, here's another option that just popped in my head. Why not have the community vote on what the category actually means? In other words, let's just not necessarily not the ship showdown, but just in general have a listing of ships on Spectrum and let the public vote what they think that ship represents. Be able to add hashtags to it. So like you see the Gladius and it's listed under fighter, starter fighter, light fighter, like, and you just kind of over time you'll CIG would start to get a feel for what the community thinks these different ships categories that they fit in, if that makes sense. And then use those as your brackets.
Or to build off that, they could do something. If this I imagine would be more time consuming for CIG, and probably not a good idea. But they can do something where it's like during Invictus, right, which is May. You can have a vote on Spectrum for what are this year's categories, and do that every May. And then since ShipShowdown's in September or late August, early September, that's when you have everything already done because you had the voting for what the categories are in advance and then regular showdown. And it'll be different. And it'll be different every year because each year you have to vote on what the categories are before the event itself. This way it makes it a bit more dynamic. Each year feels different.
Yep. You could have CIG say, like, here's the categories we selected. Now tell us what ships fit in each category. And then they figure out what the brackets will be after that vote.
Yep. Would be interesting.
Yeah.
I do understand that they want to limit how many ships are on the Ship Showdown for obvious reasons of then you have to put all the ships, who's going to go up against who, you need a certain number of ships in order for the bracket to work.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to put some effort in if you want community buy-in, because otherwise, you get kind of what we've had for the last, couple of years, which is, people going, meh.
Like, I know we've said in the past, like, none of us care about the Ship Showdown, at least as it is right now, and has been, because, again, it doesn't have any substance. At least here, you're making it a bit more dynamic and at least spicing it up a bit every year. Have a vote for what the categories are prior to the showdown, and then when the showdown goes down, you actually get to see, the categories we voted on are now determining what ships are going to be eligible for the showdown, and obviously means what win.
Yep.
And if you limit last year's winners, because this way it's not like you're having the Carrack win every year or whatever. This way the Carrack at least can win at most every other year. But it does mean it's not going to be able to win every year. And I think that would be great, especially since we're going to get more and more ships as the game goes on. We're going to have more ships in-game, which are what are eligible for the showdown in the first place, I believe. So it makes sense to, if they won last year, they're not on the leaderboard for this.
And I just had another thought, which is another category that I think would be really actually beneficial would be to have something kind of like the best starter ship and let the community actually fight over that. But then at the end of that, that's whatever the community selected, say like the top 2 get used in free flies that are focused on trying to bring new players in and
I'll do you one better.
Free fly what what the community considers to be the best starter ships. Come on in and try it out. See what you think.
I'll do you one better. They do that where whatever the top two starter ships are voted, and like whichever ones win, or top 2 that win become the free fly ships. and during the free fly, they have a sale. Like, and I mean like discounted price sale for those starter ships.
Right.
So if you have, say, like an Avenger, Titan starter ship and a let's say a 100i, because those are favorite ones I've seen. You know, those are, I believe, 65 or 75 and $80 respectively. So, like, say it's a sale, it's like, okay, they're gonna be $45 for the duration of the free fly, so it's a week.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would go over better than, like, oh, hey, the Carrick won, so, here's I don't even know what it costs right now. It's, what is it, like
I don't
$600
know.
or something?
I don't
But
know how much it costs right now. No, last time I remember hearing it was, it's, I mean, it's in the hundreds area. That's already absurd.
yeah.
Yep.
So you don't want to use. All I'm getting at is, I don't really care what the actual price is. All I'm getting at is,
Right.
maybe that's not the best ship to put forward. Is like, hey, free fly. Don't you want to buy this multi-$100 ship?
Yeah.
Versus if you were to say, hey, look, here's what the community thinks are the best starter ships for you to come in, and I like your idea, which is, and it's discounted right now. Like that's
Yep.
win-win-win.
Exactly, because here you're, say you get in from this free fly. You're getting in this free fly. You're flying around the 100i because that's one of the free fly ships that you have access to. And you're like, hey, I really, really like this ship. If I get this game, this is the ship I want, or at least the one I start with, right? Because I'm familiar with it now, or whatever it is. You like its design, you like how it flies. Again, whatever it is, it's a really nice ship. And you go to the store, and normally it's like an $80 game package. And now I don't remember if it comes with, like, it probably comes with Squadron 42 at that point, so you are still getting 2 games for the price of, I guess, one AAA game these days. But it would be nice if it's, here's the $45, discounted free fly sale version of it. And yeah, it's only Star Citizen, but I mean that's still pretty damn good. It would get a lot more people on board that way too, because people like when things are discounted.
Yeah. You were trying to throw something in there, Cam?
Nope.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, so the back to the whole ship showdown thing, our tangent on what CIG should do aside, and CIG, for listening, probably put this on Spectrum, especially this clip. But yeah, the whole ship showdown, the winners were, was it the Carrick, Pisces, Star Runner, the Mercury Star Runner, and what was the fourth one?
Pisces and the Scorpius.
Yes, the Scorpius. So those are the ships this year that are going to be getting a unique job. Yeah, the showdown. Thankfully, there was no shenanigans community-wise with the showdown this year. CAG nipped that in the bud and did. Uh, because if anyone recalls, last year we had the Argo win, all for a joke. Which again, at the moment, really doesn't matter because the ship showdown's kind of pointless right now, aside from skins. But in the future, when there is some substance to it, it would not be good for just joke ships to win because a joke.
Hee
Um, but yeah, ship showdown wise, that's really it. I mean, what's on it?
The only thing I would input is that, and it's not really. It kind of ties into the topic, but it doesn't, and only in the sense of talking about skins. Um, Again, Astropub had an interesting conversation about like hex codes and skins, and some of his guests had some really good comments and brought up asked some interesting questions. And I don't know if this is necessarily the time or the place to do it, but essentially they were kind of saying, hey, it looks like CIG has kind of painted themselves into a corner with the way that they're handling skins and hex code paint jobs. And essentially it's going to come to a head eventually that they're going to have to choose one or the other way to do it in game to allow people, to essentially have have their style. And I thought it was an interesting show in that sense. There was actually some serious questions because, an MMO, one of the biggest deals is being able to, make things look the way you want your stuff to look.
Yep, customization and options are things players enjoy in nearly every game. MMOs especially because you're online and look different from it.
Right. So, the current CIG model is that pretty much everything has to be either bought or, won through participating in a in-game event, which kind of means that, you know, you there's going to that means there's going to be a limit to what you can do unless you buy, their stuff, which kind of goes against what they were originally saying they wanted. They wanted you to be able to do stuff in game more. I don't know. I'm not saying it very well, but it's. I think that Astropub did a much better job, but it just I found it interesting. And then we were talking about the ship skins for the ship showdown, and that's what got my brain on that track.
I mean, from what I know, they talked about it a while ago, where you can customize color. Because I would love the ability to just go into, say, Cousin Crow's or Dumper's Depot, fly in or land my ship at a hangar and then go to the shop, whichever it is, and essentially just customize the colors of my ship the way you would say customize the colors of your armor in Halo Reach, or using color sliders to customize your colors that way, but get more variety there. But
yeah, but also think about
save
it this
these
way.
shops the pre-made skins for the more unique stuff, I guess. So you want to have this. I don't know, you can have the store bought one, the ones you have to pay, and you can have the thing we're obviously coloring your ship, getting it painted essentially is a fee that you have to pay at a shop to do, but you have the you customize it yourself. You choose what colors it is. You don't have to purchase a skin or find out where that skin is to get it. That's my problem with paint right now.
What would you do for orgs? And what I mean is say you want everyone in your org to have a outfit that has a specific color scheme, to represent the org. How do you go about doing that?
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Anything.
Because the reason I'm actually I don't that question doesn't actually you don't have to answer it, but I'm just trying to get this was some of the stuff that these other content writers were starting to bring up, and I was kind of like, wow, yeah, no, you got a point there, in a sense that CIG needs to have some way of allowing the user to create their own unique stuff without it being bought, in the sense that you're an org, you want to have all your people say look like stormtroopers. Do you want
You want to
to
have a uniform and look the same.
Right. So the org needs essentially needs a hex code that they can assign as their own, being unique, and they need a way to be able to share that within their org, but not have other people necessarily have immediate access to it. Maybe somebody can try and copy it by actually sitting down and going, okay, I saw that, that guy's armor is this color. I'm going to select, the closest I can come to that that color, within my own paint palette. But how do you manage like that system is what I'm getting. And I realize I'm taking us down a rabbit hole. So I did.
I'm just trying. No, it's like obviously my first thought is like, well, what's wrong with just using the regular color customizer? Like, okay, you need to have blue primary and yellow secondary or whatever colors for the board colors. But then obviously you can have the argument, well, everyone can do that, so then you can have people pretending to be or just unknowingly having a ship in your colors,
or looking like the UEE Navy.
right?
Or looking like an advocacy agent, like that. Yeah, so that's where you need some kind of management process on the CIG side to be able to control it, but still allow orgs to have that diversity capability. Just food for thought.
Yeah. But it is interesting to talk about because, yeah, one of the problems and why the Ship Showdown is usually so interesting of a debate of late is because of the lack of substance to it, aside from this is the only way you really, let alone, or just a alternate paint job for your ship at the moment, because some ships don't have alternate paint jobs in the game. Some are only available on the website with real money, and then some do have paint jobs in, but they're very limited.
And there's not really like a rhyme or reason behind any of it, so the players left kind of scratching their head going, I don't get it, which isn't a good look for CIG.
No.
But anywho, food for thought.
Mando, we got anything else Star Citizen related?
Yeah, we got the well, they did the two ISCs with the Vulture Venture, and they also got the studio reports. So the Squadron studio report, just summary, pretty much just a worked on animation stuff continues, including EVA and zero-G work progress continued, focusing on attaching characters and moving through tight spaces. So they're making progress on the EVA, the zero-G push-pull mechanic for it. So that's good. We got continued work on Vanduul searching for players, the Chow line, medical bed, and custom animation locomotion, as well as mocap backlog was worked on. The character art team for Squadron 42 continued development on Screaming Galson's armor and remaining Navy uniforms. Work on internal head scan process as well. So it's just more working on previously mentioned stuff from previous studio updates. I mean, that's pretty much what the updates are at this point. But hey, hopefully we'll actually see something of Squadron soon. I know they said that they're not going to show anything Squadron at CitizenCon. Is that right?
That's what's been thrown around, yeah. But I did hear a conjecture that that studio that Disco Lando has been using as a background for the past couple months in his ISCs. Supposedly, the rumor is that might get used, be unveiled as a major studio set for the CitCon.
Okay. Shall we just jump right into the CitizenCon news? Obviously, we got CitizenCon, save the date. It will be on October 8th, 2022 at 11 a.m. Which is just before Sukkot. Just before the Jewish holiday. One of them, anyways. But yeah, so far the CitizenCon is an in-engine tour. Is going to have a lot of 4.0 stuff. So more pyro, more of server meshing, hopefully. One of the things that I saw listed was in-engine tour of many planets and moons coming pyro system, process of a mission archetype with focus on deduction and storytelling, which, hey, more story focused and more multi-objection goddamn words. Objective missions is great. We used to have those with the mission givers that they always show off at CitizenCon, and then they've all been either removed.
We're still waiting on 2 for Microtech, right?
I think 1 on Microtech and 2 on Crusader, or the other way around, but yeah.
Something like that.
They're doing a reimagining of underground facilities. They're going to do a learn how master modes will impact the flight experience for the PU and better define ship roles for all vehicles. First glimpse at the Lorville rework. How the upcoming resource management system will affect combat, player homesteading, and true multi-crew gameplay, as well as discover the latest vehicles throughout the pipeline, including the concept ship. So that's all they have planned, at least that we're aware of, for CitizenCon this year. Obviously, nothing mentioning Squadron. And they said there's going to be no keynote this year, correct?
The last I heard. No Chris Roberts.
No Chris Roberts, which, does that mean no demo as well, or, because usually the keynote is the demo?
I think it means no demo, unless they're planning Squadron 42 surprise.
I mean, I hope so. I hope so, but I'm not going to get my hopes up.
How do I put this? I only want them to do it if they really do have something that is well developed. In other words, if it's like all the previous game, what do you call it? Slices that they've shown in the past that have never actually come to fruition. I do not want them to show that again and have it be Squadron 42 based, because that'll look really bad for Squadron 42. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean, I think the problem they have right now, if they don't do anything Squadron, is that it's going to look bad and, they still don't have anything. It's been 10 years. But then you have the exact opposite, where you just mentioned, where now you have something, and say in 2 years, when the game launches, it's going to be completely different again. We don't know.
Or what we get, it looks totally scripted and faked. And, they're trying to play it off as, look what we've got for Squadron 42, and based off of the past 10 years of what we've seen, it's, we get the obvious effect of, this is another hopium, commercial, and, then it gets picked apart and they look bad again. Like, unless and that's what I mean, like, unless you really got the game locked down, Squadron 42 is really locked down, and what you show us is believable, not scripted where, the enemy can't shoot correctly and, you don't die. Like, I know I'm going into the weeds on this, but essentially, it would need to really be gameplay that they show us, and not a scripted event. If they don't have that, then I don't think they should show it. That's just me.
I think that's fair.
I don't want another sandworm event.
Yeah, no, that's the problem, is that they usually try to go very, like, last year was very tame, and I liked that.
But it was still very scripted.
It was, but and that's the thing, is we still don't have it.
Yeah, exactly. And that would look really bad if they tried to do something like that for Squadron 42. Considering that, considering the how quiet they've been about it, and how long it's taken, that would be just as bad as not saying anything. Actually, I think it would be worse. than
It's
not saying
a
anything.
tightrope walk right now. That's what they have at Squadron. Tightrope. Gotta walk it
Yeah.
just right, otherwise they're gonna fall.
Yeah, they're almost in a catch-22, which is, they're damned if they do, damned if they don't.
I'd say this is like a tightrope over a 20-foot fall with mats at the bottom. They fall, it's gonna be bad, but they can get up and try again. But it's gonna hurt.
I think being silent would be the better option, just because at least being silent is less damaging than trying to get people's hopes up and then having them be actually angry about that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, especially since if they go silent, people just out of sight, out of mind, or in this case, not heard from, out of mind. But no one gives them a damn. No one cares. Then when they do say something, people hear about it, and it's good news.
Yeah, and if they don't show us anything, then there's no evidence for people to point back to later on and go, see, like,
Yeah.
you're not providing ammunition.
Whether intentionally or otherwise.
Yeah, but that's just my take.
No, I think it's a good, because especially when you look back at not just Star Citizen, but I mean one of the recent examples would be Cyberpunk, where it had that 2018 demo, which had gameplay, even UI and gameplay elements that didn't make it into the game, that either looked better or whatever it was. And
I'm with you. I at this point, I'm for, let's just get the job done and let the critics run their mouths. Don't respond to it.
yeah,
Just keep your head down and keep doing what needs to be done, and
Get the gerb done, but
we'll
they took our
deal with it.
gerbs.
Sorry?
he's making a South Park reference.
Yes.
I just didn't hear it. I heard cookadurs.
Yeah, they took our gerbs.
They took their gerbs.
My gird.
That too.
No, I think it's no news is good news, right?
Yeah.
We hear nothing from them when they do come out, especially. Yeah, but the whole thing, you're gonna have critics always make fun of Star Citizen. We talk about it a lot with the scam citizen. It is what it is, but you don't have to give them unintentionally give them fuel for critique. I mean, look, if you have especially when it's a case of some of the critique is fair and it questions why did you do this demo. So, best avoid it if you don't need. It's just needless at that point.
So yeah, I think I'm hoping it's actually going to be kind of a quiet CitCon.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that what they do have listed, as their topics, I hope they do a good job with those in the sense of explaining stuff rather than trying to show us, ideas of it. I guess what I'm getting at is, I hope these are explanation topics and not more kind of what we've been talking about, which is like, look at this tech that we want to eventually bring, and they're showing us sandworms again. Don't do that.
No, I enjoyed, you and I talked about last year at CitizenCon and how our favorite part was when they talked about server meshing and all the tech behind the scenes rather than the demo itself. And there were some good aspects from the demo, like the fact that they showed off more puzzle stuff, which some of that is already in game. So that was good. And they did show off how they wanted to have similar things on some stations around Pyro, which they showed off in some ISCs over the last year.
One of the things I really liked that they did is they showed off the cloud tech, and then they had the cloud tech, like, it came in the game, like, what, next patch?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's good. That's the kind of stuff I want to see, where you show me something and it's deliverable. It's not, we have a guy sitting in a closet working on this, and we hope that this will be out in a year. No. Like Cloud Tech was a good example of how you should do it, which is, hey, look at what we've done. This is now being, we're releasing this. That's what I want my CitCon to be.
Yep, and they have it on almost every planet except for ArcCorp right now. Planet, I say.
I wonder why
the moons
ArcCorp
don't have
does.
them yet either. I don't know. But Orison, obviously Orison has it. Crusader is a gas giant. We got Microtech's got clouds now. Watch your face. Hurston has smog. Smog clouds.
Yeah.
Calling them clouds is nice. May not be accurate. Just being polite.
I remember being really. Yeah. The color palettes and the shape and the density. Sorry. But yeah, go for it.
I was gonna agree with you saying like I hope it's a quiet CitizenCon like they did last year, but if they, the best I'm hoping for is a Squadron 42 surprise, like just to show something that
Would
is
be
actually again that's deliverable to in some capacity and not even if it's something like, oh, this is something we're gonna be porting into the PU, but we wanted to show it in Squadron because it's the 10th anniversary, whatever it is. But I think realistically, we're probably not going to see special this year, aside from some behind the scenes tech, a lot of insights into Pyro. Actually, it's gonna be like last year again. Isn't the worst. I know a lot of people want the big demo, but as we on about it, the big demo at the end of the day, yeah, it's cool and flashy and good for videos, but I mean, unless you're getting all that stuff in the demo like a month or 3 months, or at least by the end of that year, why show it?
Yeah. And it's a manpower thing. I mean, in the past, they were basically wasting, a full quarter of the year just getting set up for the demo, and the fact that the demos usually didn't translate into anything in game afterwards meant, the community basically lost a 3 months of productivity just for a show, and that to me that wasn't that wasn't a good trade-off.
No, especially when you look at how things went last CitizenCon and this past year. Yeah, this past year's had some major hiccups, but they're learning from those hiccups, and I think what they're doing with the 318 being pushed back and their quarterly, or I mean, they might still do the quarterly thing, but at the moment they're kind of going more, it's ready when it's ready and not trying to meet a deadline. Seems to be
Yeah.
going much better than in the past.
I would say that this past year, yeah, they've made some pretty major changes, or I shouldn't say major change. They've made changes that have had bigger impacts than in the past, and I think overall they've been for the better of the development of the game.
We got 315 last year. It was the last patch of last year. That was the big medical change with the local inventory stuff. 316 was just more of that. Obviously, 318 is going to be a big gaming one with salvage, if getting the go karts and stuff. 317 had the Siege Orson event. There was some big stuff this year.
Yeah, and if they can get 318 out by the end of the year, that'll be huge. I don't think it's going to happen, but if they can, that'll be huge.
Yep.
I mean, like the stuff you guys were talking about with the mission givers, like I think a lot of that is tied into whether they can get the Pez working. Because what's the point in having mission givers if your Pez isn't working?
I thought it had to do with the Quanta and Tony Z stuff.
Right,
It makes more, which makes sense as well. Yeah, I think
to weed out everything, and then your Quanta isn't overloading your servers,
and it's a case
working,
of
and that means
it's a case of it all working together. Like you have Quanta working with Pez, working with server meshing, working with pretty much everything else. Not just like one system will fix it. No, it's all these systems working together that will not just fix it, that will create the working game.
Yeah. And being able to cull out that stuff that the player doesn't need to see, that helps the servers as well. So to me that's tied into the Pez. So I think that's a major foundational item that's going to enable those systems that you're talking about to link.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for all we know, Tony has his Quanta system ready to go, but it's just so server side. I can't think of the proper word for it right now, but congestive, that it's just it takes the servers as soon as it starts working. But if we can weed out all that stuff that doesn't need to be represented, that just frees up that server space, is how I'm understanding.
Yeah. Once they get those, pretty much once they get everything working and together with each other, then you're going to see massive improvements, additions to the game. Now, we're not, the servers aren't congested. We're not limited by the servers and by the, this back-end system. Like, it's all here. Now we can actually add, like, we're probably going to see content roll out faster because now they're not being held back.
That's my hope. Opium. But yeah, I think 3.18 is going to be a while though. It's
do we have any word if that's in Ivacati yet or not?
As far as I know, it is still not Ivacati.
Okay.
And the expectation.
Oh yeah, it got pushed back like a month or so. So it has not yet been a month. 2 weeks.
Well, I don't think Ivacati. The rumor is that Ivacati still has is not going to see 3.18 even for them for quite a while. Like I'm thinking like a month or two still before they get their hands on it, unless there's stuff going on very, very deep behind the curtain, that nobody knows about. But it seems the general community feeling is that they're doing a lot of work still.
It's a big patch, so a lot of work is needed.
Yeah.
Especially if they really are going to get salvage out with it. They've shown off enough footage to make me think it might be possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it is going to be tier 0 implementation, so it will just be pointing a laser at something. Hey, tier 0, not tier 75, where you're literally going up to a ship and like pulling the wings off.
Yeah, but who knows? I'm fully expecting the first at least couple months after salvage comes out that it's going to become basically common for you to spawn your ship or land your ship outside the outpost or whatever and run inside and grab your package, and you come out and like maybe structurally it's still there, but visually you're going to be missing a wing because somebody came along and just decided to start trying to salvage your ship.
Yep. I do think that I hope not happen, but with 3.18 or possibly It confirmed 390. I hope that we can see some of the more intricate stuff of salvage, where it's not so much, oh, how much can we take this ship apart and how can we do it? It's what else can we do? Like, oh, this ship has the guns still attached to the wings. I'm just going to take the guns and run.
Yeah.
The turrets
be,
on
yeah,
the ground turrets, right? Those size 3 attritions. I'm just going to blow up those turrets and take those guns now.
Yeah. Now, what I think would be hilarious is if they're still trying to get their criminal system data, is if they were to tie in salvaging with the criminal system. So, like, if you aim your salvage layer at another person's ship that is, say, like in a green zone, you automatically start getting crime statted. That would be hilarious. The community would go nuts, but I think it'd be funny.
It'd be interesting.
And it'd serve as a deterrent, you know? It because essentially what I'm seeing is salvaging is going to be just like when medical came out and you had people just running around trying to drug each other up.
Yep.
So if you're to attach crime statting to the salvage, then at least there's some deterrence over time, and they get their data from for the prison system and the mission giver in there.
Okay, so we have a roadmap roundup from last week that says Alpha 318 is on track for Evo later this month. Goal is to release 318 to live in the first half of November before IAE, and obviously Alpha 318 will include IAE patch. So that's their roadmap roundup from September 14th.
Well, I mean, hopefully they keep to it.
Yeah, that'd be great. All that bundled up into a nice package with Invictus launch week. Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. Sounds like a fun time.
Mm.
But how do they work the Vulture into the flight show? Because isn't that the military
No.
one?
Drake does have a spot at the expo. It's Invictus launch week. They don't. That's the military one.
Oh, gotcha.
And the UEE doesn't use any Drake ship or Drake stuff at all.
Yep.
So
That we know of for now.
some Black Ops unit smuggled drugs, running contraband. Essentially,
Yep.
CIA
They're
level
undercover
shenanigans.
buds.
Base CIA.
Actually, I would be all down for that in the game, like to have undercover UEE or advocacy units that are actually flying around in ships that look like pirate or gang
Running space coke to the
ships.
Contras.
Sorry?
I said running space coke to the Contras. CIA style.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. No, that would be interesting because then the pirates have something else to be worried about, not just I did something wrong. I took down a player. Now I've got people coming after me, but the actual concern of like, okay, this looks like somebody that's bad, but
Like this looks like a friendly for a pirate, like a pirate, another pirate that I can be friendly with. But then it turns out, no, it's a sting operation. We gotcha.
Yep. Well, take it to the next step. You also have the authorities running around in player looking ships as well. So you got it from both sides.
You kind
So
of
when the
have that
pirates take
already.
somebody down, they don't know if it's an advocacy or a UEE or like, oh, I took down a caterpillar, but when I entered it, it was full of Marines. Uh-oh.
Rip.
Just ideas for gameplay.
Yeah. I mean, it just that all boils down to we need the AI to be more, and that relies on quanta and server meshing. But we need the AI to be active and functional. They need to be more proactive in how they go about the universe and interact with players on nearly every level. And we need them to function while doing so, and that relies on Quanta, Quasar, and all the Tony Z stuff. Which is why we don't have it yet. Which is why right now you have AI that are either dumb as bricks or SEAL Team 6 and nothing in between. That needs to be on a t-shirt.
I still just want my vanilla civilian air traffic, you know? Like
the guy from Letsky's.
You know, just level 0 implementation traffic in your landing zones of civilian AI just going about their business, you know, flying through the skies, giving me that sense that I'm in an actual like lived in environment.
One of the best things of storytelling that at least in my opinion, is not that, oh, here's the story, it's you are just entering a world. Like, because what makes the story in the world in that story feel more real is that it feels like a living world, and part of that in Star Citizen would be AI going about their business. You see regular traffic coming and going. It makes you feel like, oh, I'm stepping into a world here that's already, like, if I leave this world goes on without me. It's got its own thing going. I'm here though, and I can participate in it.
Yeah. Having to think about like, oh, I need to fit into this traffic pattern, like that gets you involved in the game rather than being like, oh, I'm just running into the spaceport and there's no traffic. I don't need to look around or worry about anything. I can answer texts on my phone in real life while I'm flying in, you know? Like, that's not immersive.
I mean, it is for some people, I'm sure. Bad drivers that are on their phones. But yeah, no, I know what you mean.
I'm sure they'll still do it, but you know, there's that segment of the game playing community that'll be like, yeah, no, I'm in this game. Like, I gotta fit in the traffic pattern here. You know, I'm in slot 32. I gotta stay in my zone. I can't get too close or too far away from, you know, the ship in front of me or the ship behind me.
That reminds me, I hope they bring back the landing splines.
To be honest, and I know this isn't popular, I think they should take away our ability to land in congested areas, in the sense of when you get within a certain distance of the landing zone, I think that you should be required to hand over control of your ship. In other words, like, you're coming in, you put in a request to land, and you get within like 10 kilometers of the landing field, landing zone, whatever you want to call it. You should then be, you know, you should be contacted like, hey, time to hand over control. And, you know, you agree, you hit your button in your ship, and essentially they guide your ship in and land it for you. To me, it makes sense lore-wise, and it would cut down on the pad ramming. It would make, like, it would just make life a lot easier for new players and everybody else who's maybe not the best flyer to get in and out of where they need to go. But I'm only talking about this being available in like built up areas. So like, you know, places like ArcWork, or when you're going into a major space station. If it's out in the boonies somewhere, I'm all for letting the player have full control. But, you know, you think about it, like, an oil tanker doesn't get to drive itself into Long Beach or you know, Newport News. Like, there's a ship, a local pilot who comes out to the ship.
A tugboat comes in and wheels them in. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, do you guys hear that noise? I think it's Data screaming somewhere off in the distance at your suggestion. No, but I think that it should be an option. I do like the idea, but I personally don't like it for myself. I want to land. I enjoy landing because it's good practice, and I enjoy that full immersion. But I do understand for some people, and as you mentioned, like people that don't want to fly, but they're gonna obviously have to fly, get there. But I feel it should be an option. Like either you arrive and you call ATC and they're like, maybe it's a keybind, or you can do it through comms. Either you give them control so they can reel you in. It's slower. It's essentially the landing zone version of auto land.
So how about this?
Or you fly yourself.
How about have it reputation based? So if you have good rep with your flying abilities, they allow you the option to do it yourself. But if you have a track record of being a problem child or making mistakes, then it doesn't allow you that option, and it reels you in automatically.
Makes
That
more
way,
sense. I can see it where it's like you're going to Levski and the guy says, "Hey, welcome back. You want to fly yourself, or should I take control?" And like literally, just that's the voice line. But I still think it should be an option from the get-go, just because I don't like the idea of hindering players from playing. But I understand. I think the problem is we're coming at it from how Star Citizen. No, we're coming at it from how the environment is now, without AI security patrols in airspace, without the landing splines and other ATC and flying related AI to negate the player shenanigans. Because right now,
think about it, like,
it does seem like an obvious answer, but in the future it may not. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with what you're saying, but also think about it like, and how do I put this? So like, I know that you're a rational player in the sense that when you're playing the game, you don't have the intent of going out there and causing problems for other people, and you're a responsible, character when you're in the verse per se about how you fly. Like, you're actively participating, and you're not like just, how do I put this? There's going to be players out there who are not paying attention to what they're doing because they just don't care. In the sense of like, you got some kid who's flying his ship in, and in real life his phone rings, and his girlfriend's on. He wants to talk to him, and so of course his attention is fully on that, and not on the game. Now,
or it's something like that, or they're just
you're flying your Caterpillar with $100 million worth of cargo on board. Do you want that guy flying next to you? Like, no matter what the results are of his actions.
Yeah, all you know is that he rammed right into T-boned your Caterpillar and you lost $30 million of shipment. Yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from, especially with the griefing. Obviously, there's assholes out there, there's griefers. I dealt with the one that reminds me of the big report one. But, like, there are griefers out there that literally just get their kicks and jollies from ruining your day. And obviously, again, that's where the AI part of the equation would come in. We also don't know to what level the AI will factor into landing zone security. But
what about this? What if you have a system that automatically, if you get too close to another ship, it automatically takes over control then? That might be a happy.
Well, this is why I want the splines to come in. I was thinking about this before. What if you had the landing splines that tell you, okay, you have to follow this path, because it acts as a guide for new players. You have to follow along, fly within the rings, land into the hangar. For starters, regarding new player stuff, they need to have the pads from, like, the floor of the hangar needs to be able to rise up so it's flush with the surface of the hangar. So just for landing, being ease of use sake, that would be amazing. If the 890 jumps hangar can do it, a official hangar at a spaceport can do it. I mean, and it's not like they don't have the like. It just take a few tweaks. Like, an artist can do that in an hour for the hangars, and then copy and paste it for all the hangars, and then done. Like, design wise, so it doesn't look weird.
Yeah.
And again, they have the tech already with the 890.
It's vertical and horizontal.
Yeah, it's just essentially, but this for the vertical hangars. Like, just you already have all the tech there. Just reuse, for different things. Reuse just to make landings.
Well, you
easier.
could do it for the horizontal as well. Just have the pad slide out, extend
That
out,
would be
land
cool.
on the pad,
Agreed.
and then it slides back in. I mean,
I
that
can
would take
understand
care
for
of
the
like the
space
new
ports
Babbage and
maybe
the
not
space
doing
station.
that. Like for space stations, maybe they won't do that. The horizontal pads sliding out.
I don't know.
But I
Just
mean,
saying, it's
no,
something that
it's
could be
definitely a good
doable.
idea. But what I was getting with the splines is if you like go out of the spline, maybe like you get AI saying like, "Hey, stay in the spline." If you do it again, or maybe just autopilot will take you back into the spline, and then you have control. But if you do it again, autopilot's like, "Oh, we're taking over." You clearly are.
Yeah.
Like essentially, keep the splines. They act as essentially like a tunnel. Behind the scenes, why it's a tunnel that you have to fly through. And if you exit that tunnel, because it's a not intangible tunnel, you can just fly through it. But if you exit that tunnel, it's like the AI goes, "Okay, dude, you get back in the tunnel now." And if you keep doing it, maybe AI autopilot will take you back in the tunnel. If you keep doing it, AI's like, we're taking over from here because we don't want to have any incident.
Yeah. No, I'm on board with that. Actually, I think maybe a combination of the two. So you're flying in, you make your request to land when you're like, 10 kilometers out. I'm just picking a random number there, but you're a distance out, you make your landing request.
Yeah, because
At that
I
point,
feel they
you're
need to
given
bring
an option to either, hey, you want to fly this in yourself, or do you want us to fly you in? And then if you choose to fly yourself, then it gives you your tunnel. You start flying down it. If you deviate, we go into what you're talking about, which is, hey, you kind of messed up. We just nudged you back into your zone. Keep,
however many strikes it is,
maintain.
1, 3.
Yeah. But that gives you kind of the best of all worlds, which is it's a controlled environment, but it still allows the player to have some involvement, and it negates the the problem children.
Yeah, because here's the thing, I do like the idea of like, oh, you have to earn rep in order for the land. As I mentioned, like, the guy on ATC, like, hey, nice to see you again. You want to take control yourself, or you want me to do it? But as a game, I don't like the idea of taking control away from the player ever. And like I feel like a lot of AAA games do that way too often, and Star Citizen as a way of not doing that, I like that. So I don't want. Like, I feel like this is the best way to have best of both worlds, right? You got first off, you make it an option from the get go, no matter your reputation. You want to bind yourself or not, make it a keybind or make it a thing on the comlink screen on your mobiGlas or on the MFD in your ship. This way, it's not like, oh, you have to navigate through 17 different menus.
Yeah.
Call them up and then, or maybe even get like a yes or no or a speech option, but make it something that's easy to see, easy to read and manipulate or select your option. Obviously, make it an option so players can forego doing it. And obviously, they need to bring back splines anyways, because again, you're going to have AI traffic along with player traffic at, say, a place like Lorville, where a lot of traders go. You're going to have a very busy traffic jam all the time. You're going to need landing splines just to navigate all those ships so no one crashes into each other in the first place anyways. I feel like that's the best way to go about it.
You're absolutely right. I have a great example, which is back when R-Corp first came in, I was an active player. Like, I'd been playing up to that point for like 3 years. And the first time I went into R-Corp, I flew to, the marker for R-Corp for Area 18.
Right,
I requested
with the spaceport
ATC landing, and it said, yeah, go ahead and land. I had absolutely no idea where the landing zone was.
Right, because the spaceport is like a click or so away from the actual city, and the markers for the city. So
yeah, and like, I'm familiar with the game. I've been playing it actively, and I have no clue where I'm supposed to go. Now, throw in a bunch of AI traffic going on, I would have been a total mess. Like, I literally flew around in circles when this was happening. I actually flew around in circles until I finally saw, like,
The big red strip.
an area that looked like it could be a landing pad, and I flew over to it. And when I got within, like, a couple hundred meters of it, then I finally saw my little landing square. But up till that point, I was absolutely clueless. Throw in AI traffic, that's going to be, you can't go navigating, flying around in circles in the middle of Coruscant, traffic corridors. That's just, that's not
Says
not
you.
doable.
No,
Yeah.
you need to have that air traffic control, like realistic air traffic control, giving designated landing paths for the incoming and outgoing freight.
Yeah, and
that works in the
visible indicator of where to go, in the sense of that.
Especially
that
since, hey, we're in the 30th century. They're showing off all this building block UI with the AR stuff. Obviously, this doesn't have to be like an AR, and AR would actually be fitting here because it doesn't have to be like you go in third person and you see it, or rather, like I see you landing. You have your designated landing path, and I'm overhead watching. I'm not going to see the landing splines, but you will because it's on your HUD or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
Absolutely.
then it just looks weird because you're going to have splines all over, and that's going to be messy. Like, you're just going to see yours. But you need to have those that tunnel of where you're going to go, or the rings, essentially, fly you through to land, take off.
Yeah, just have it part of the ship landing HUD system. It just, when you hit the landing request, it starts piping you the tunnel that you need to follow. If you get out of your seat, you're probably not going to see it because it's in the HUD.
Right, part of the ship HUD.
But anywho, yeah, I think they need something like that, because I always revert to, like, in real life, like, sure, we all have our own private F-18s and we can go flying through downtown Manhattan, canyon style flying, right? No, like, even if we did own our own F-18 fighter jets, there's no way that anyone would allow anybody to fly down, through downtown Manhattan, because even if somebody makes a mistake, how many millions of dollars does that cost? How many lives does that cost?
In both the aircraft getting damaged and the building.
Yeah.
And the street below, if any rubble hits and people, it's...
Yeah. So I'd like to see some of that mentality come into the game, but I agree. I understand and I agree with what you're saying about not taking away player interactions. I can absolutely understand that. So they just need to find a way to kind of balance it all out.
Yeah, they need to find that sweet spot and how to do it.
I think that, because I would like to be able to see, players flying, canyon flying through parts of ArcCorp. Like, I'm okay with that, but maybe tie it into that reputation.
Maybe not near the major landing zone. I mean, ArcCorp's entirely covered in buildings. You can do it anywhere else,
Yeah, and tie it into the reputation of the player that,
right.
Hey, they haven't had, they haven't had, I'm just picking numbers here, but they haven't had 2 wrecks in the past 6 months. So yeah, they're clear to fly in the zone freely, until they have an accident, and then it's maybe you need to fly above a certain altitude now until a certain amount of time has gone by and you haven't had an incident, and then you're cleared to go lower again. I don't know, just options like that or something.
Yep. And hell, maybe they can have we're gonna have the we're gonna have the ArcCorp races or whatever, where it's like a bunch of ships flying in buildings and stuff. And that's near Area 18. That way, people at Area 18 can watch from the balconies. These ships fly overhead at top speeds.
So we're going to implement this, and we're going to have now an AI system that will send an NPC out to gather your air traffic control records and then consolidate them, and then it will make an in-game portfolio, and that portfolio is used to go and judge where you can fly, it's only going to add about 15 years of the game.
Sounds good. I thought you were going to say it's coming in 318.
He's
No,
not. He's
you're
not the
that
marketing
lucky.
team.
Come on, we're on Hopium, right?
Yeah.
But anywho,
Yeah, but the whole back to the do your report stuff. Star Citizen Squadron. The progress Star Citizen's made in August is, let's say, decent. AI content team focused on creating behaviors for sitting enabled consoles, medical patient examinings, medical fridge usables, and they improved locomotion realism by recategorizing trigger events such as coughs, stretches, blood glass, etc. That's just for AI. The world being a bit livable and AI not just standing on chairs. Creepy.
one thing I'm really hoping they don't do, and this is a pet peeve of mine, in the Arma game series, if you don't interact, like if you don't move your character in game within like 15 to 20 seconds, your character starts going into these body animations of like swaying around and picking their nose and scratching their ass.
I hope they
That's
don't
like
do that.
Yeah, I do not want that, because they, like in Arma, it's really frustrating. You'll be laying on the ground like in your sniper position, and if you don't move every couple seconds, you start actually like wiggling your legs around, and it's like, dude, you're a sniper. You're supposed to stay,
You're like, stop
you're
that.
just
It's not just that, but it's also I'm the player. This is I'm controlling
playing me,
my
I'm
player
not playing
character.
their character.
Yeah, I didn't do that, and it's annoying
Exactly.
when you see your character do something that you didn't tell it to do. Essentially,
Though
Yeah.
it would be interesting to have that as an option to toggle
Yeah.
on, but it
Like-
should be a opt-in and default opt-out kind of thing.
agreed. Especially if you can I want this emote to be my idle animation.
And it needs to be, if they are going to do it, also be able to set like the length of time before it takes effect. So you can say, like, if I haven't done anything for 5 minutes, then you can go ahead and start doing some animations. But if not, leave me alone. Don't touch.
Well, there's probably going to be they're going to limit what that time limit is, just because eventually if you're idle for too long, you're just going to get kicked from the server. So
True.
let's see. They worked on AI features, continued on trait system, which allows AI character specialization by modifying behavior logic. Traits include aggressive, defensive, gunner, medics, and addicts, etc. So again, get that variety, that spice of life, AI.
What would be really cool is if down the line, so like say you're doing a bunker mission, and if you go down in the bunker mission, it'd be great if one of the AI would be able to go, okay, I healed you, and there'd be only a limit to how often that could happen. But
Or to type of injury that they can heal you from.
well, I mean, I'm just talking like hitting you with a med pen. So it's like if you have a tier 3 body injury, you still got the body injury, but you're ambulatory again.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good.
Because it's like, part of the whole aspect of it is it's supposed to, way down the line, you're supposed to start questioning whether or not the characters you're with are NPCs or players. It's like, just like,
Yep.
if I'm playing with some buddies, shit, I went down, hey,
And there's your extra 15 years of development right there.
Yeah, really.
To bring up Arma again, one of the frustrating things is you're leading a squad, you've got a corpsman in your squad, but if anyone in your squad takes a hit, your corpsman just stands around until you actually tell him through keyboard commands, you need to go heal this guy, and then he goes, yes, and then he'll walk over, he just does one heal and walks away. Yeah,
it's
so of course,
painful.
There's mods that correct that, but it's like, again, this is like you're looking at the game company going, why did you do this? Why didn't you just set it up where if anyone in the squad gets hit, the guy runs over and goes, are you okay? Let me heal that, you know? Like, that's his whole purpose in life.
It'd also be pretty cool if you could heal the security guys, or maybe revive them too.
Well,
I tried doing that once and it didn't work because they just die.
Right now, some of the bunker missions, obviously there's a few different flavors of them, but one of them is, hey, our security guys are getting hit pretty hard. We're hiring you to make sure they aren't getting hit as hard here. But with all of these missions, if the friendly AIs all die or all go down, then it doesn't matter at all. And I mean, part of it is too, when we start getting down to the details here for it, it's like when they spawn in, because hey, I'm landing outside the bunker. Cool, you're close enough for the AIs to start spawning in now. Oh, hey, and they're all fighting before you ever even have a chance to go and get down there. So it's like, on one hand, it would kind of suck to start getting penalized for that, but obviously you can just have the incoming hostile AI spawn in a realistic manner too. Maybe have them be driving in vehicles, or they're sitting in their vehicles and they all start running out when you're approaching, whatever. But eventually, I'm assuming that, hey, if you're on a defend these friendlies mission and they all die, that's mission failure right there, because they weren't protected. So it's like you've got to have a way to be able to have them similarly going down to where, okay, they're bleeding out, but they aren't dead yet, and you got to go and stabilize them.
Well, you just actually brought up a good point that made me think of something. What would you guys think of them actually having like dual missions, in the sense that because not every player wants to PvP, but if that's the only way to make money, then they're kind of forced into that. So why not have missions? If you have a mission that is something like what you're talking about, which is, hey, support our guys, help our guys out, maybe have a second option, or a dual option, which is that first responder type character, player doesn't necessarily want a PvP, but he picks up that mission and he wants to go in and basically be the medical guy for that AI team. So he's not going to be the shooter, but he's going to run around and make sure everyone's med penned up throughout process, and help the AI still take out whatever the objective is, or defend the base. But that player character took the heal option mission, so he's not necessarily he's not there to be
you aren't the
PvP
frontline
guy.
gunner, even though you're there.
Right.
Yeah, no, I
So
like that. Okay.
Go ahead.
It would be interesting to see something like that. Once we have a more robust medical gameplay system in place to support that kind of stuff, I'd love to see something like that with like Siege of Orison. Because also too, I mean, you have Ninetales going around causing ruckus. You're going to have eventually Vanduul on the edges of human space going around just marauding through the place and killing people, hurting people, and it's like, realistically, I mean, like with Siege of Orison, not everyone's going to be dead. You're going to have plenty of people. You're going to have, I'm assuming down the line, assuming that they keep that mission type, archetype here, you're eventually going to have like, oh, hey, we found a civilian who was hiding in a building here. Okay, we need to get them over to an extraction point. Hey, we found some really hurt people. We need to go and stabilize them, and we're going to call for a medevac and have them swing in and pick up those guys and two of our own wounded who we need to get them out of here because they're fucking bad shape here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I would love to be seeing that kind of stuff, because it gives you those options for, hey, I'm not really an FPS combat guy, but man, I do love patching people up. Yeah, you're on the back of the squad here. Let us go and take point and just keep us all patched up, and then as events pop up, I call them flashpoints or something, whatever, to where you found injured civilian and you're stabilizing them, or hey, someone else in the squad, they just took a fucking hard hit and they're sucking real bad, but you're getting them back up on their feet to at least get to the extraction point. And now that guy is providing cover for the civilians here who's also waiting for extraction. Yeah. No, that's some good shit.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
And then also too, you could probably have stuff like, and I don't know how in depth they'll want to get with this, but something I could see is, let's say if you had an area where you had some kind of a natural disaster, earthquake popped up on Hurston. Hey, there's your non-combat medical gameplay right there. There's no combat, but you're going to need people through there, and you can easily have some broken buildings, rubble thrown around, what have you. Or you could have two ships going and colliding, two larger ships colliding. Okay, now you've got a whole lot of wounded here. Are there any medics available? Any trained responders? Please help us, kind of thing. Yeah.
Even just have regular AI search and rescue missions in the sense, some AI family is out backpacking and suddenly is, in distress. Hey, any player want to be a medical first responder to go find them and, hoist them out, take care, med them up to get them to the hospital? That should be gameplay, absolutely.
Imagine like Microtech. If you're, you get a call, hey, we were, and especially too for getting more varied missions, because I mean, CIG apparently also has a panel at CitCon where they're going to be talking about more of these non-combat missions, because pretty much everything up until this point has been focused on combat, because it's a core part of the gameplay, and so a lot of stuff revolves around it, but not everything does. Not everyone wants to be a combat arms kind of person. And so I'm definitely glad to see that they are showing they have a focus on non-combat. But on the note of like exploration / investigation / medical, hey, you're on Microtech and you get a call goes out, hey, we're looking for so and so. We think they were taking like a trip or hiking through the woods, and this real bad storm is coming in, has already come in. Please try to find them. They don't have the supplies to be able to survive out here for too long. Hey, now you're actually going and having to track them down, so you could use those bounty hunter mechanics, but not as a bounty hunter, but as a search and rescue.
Yeah. Definitely.
Like, that would, and oh, hey, you found them and they're half fucking frozen to death in a snow pile. Okay, now I got to go and stabilize them while I'm waiting for evac here, what have you.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah,
and there's so many variations of that would be so easy to implement as just little sidebar missions for random pop-ups. And it adds to that whole, what we were talking about earlier, me and Mando, that immersion of, things are going on.
Yeah, it's a lived-in universe. You find escape pods from a ship. There was a fight a couple hours ago. Help, is everyone out there? I don't have much oxygen left, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Or that, that oil drilling outpost had a explosion and there's wounded people there and they need a medevac. Like I said, so many options.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we killed that one.
On to the next rabbit hole.
You can always tell when we've gone too far when there's only two of us talking. Everyone else goes silent.
Okay, so there I was. Barbecue sauce, what?
Where?
Horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yeah.
Well,
okay, so we're now adding horses.
I was going to add to that eventually when we get full persistence and Death of a Spaceman, I hope that becomes more commonplace, because you're going to try not to die. So after a conflict, then assuming that the eject works in your ship and you didn't get run over or killed or whatever, you'd have people that need rescue out in the middle of space. They've got to call up the medics. Rescue personnel say, "Hey, I'm out here. I'm going to die. Please come pick me up." instead of just backspacing and teleporting to the nearest med facility.
Yeah. And it gives those Apollo owners, a reason to own them.
Yeah, gives them some gameplay too,
Right.
emergent gameplay.
Whoa, what's this word you're using? I'm not familiar with this.
Everybody drink up.
Kool-Aid, what?
Yeah, we got this studio report. AI features.
Oh,
Talked about all that fun
can I
stuff.
jump in? Sorry, Mando.
Yo, go.
Just one thing you actually that was just mentioned that brought up an idea. I recently heard on a content provider. They were talking about how the question was, how is Star Citizen an MMO? And one of the guests brought up a good idea, not a good idea, an idea that I thought was interesting. And I'm just going to pose this to you guys to kind of get your take on it. What would you think of having a basically a time limit or a knowledge level limit to new players? And essentially, so the idea is you're a new player, you can die indefinite amount of times as long as you're in that new player status until you've done X or Y enough times that you lose your new player status, and now Death of Spaceman takes effect and you have to be worried about losing your life. And maybe have that also be tied to, you're within a certain system, or you need to stay within a certain, on a certain planet or something to keep that status of new player, to allow those new people to kind of learn mechanics without being worried about Death of a Spaceman, and then develop into experienced players and then get the Death of a Spaceman effect in
I
full
feel
effect.
like that's where a
What would you guys
tutorial
think of that?
zone would come into
Sorry?
play. I feel like that's where a tutorial zone would come into play. Because at that point in time, you would probably have tutorials out.
Zone, but yeah, so it's like, okay, hey, you're starting the game. Here's your quick little canned introduction to here's how you move, here's how you fly a ship, here's some of the basic controls, that kind of shit. But just if it was like an entire system kind of thing, or until you do X, then you can't, deaths don't matter. I'm fine with there being a tutorial and that's not mattering in the tutorial, but I feel like if it's anything wider than that, then it's going to be exploited badly, because it's like, oh, hey, I managed to teleport out of this, or someone picked me up or whatever, and now I can die endless amounts of time and never risk anything. Guarantee you'd see that.
I mean,
I'm saying
I know that the
into
normal
something that doesn't allow that, in the sense, like, if you kill 3 people after the third kill, you are no longer considered a newbie.
The problem with triggers like that is that they don't always work depending on a variety of factors, and I think that's what Cam's trying to get at. It can be exploited.
Now that being said, though, I am absolutely open to the idea of, it's like you start the game and it goes, "Hi, welcome to Star Citizen." You have like an NPC sitting there. "Hi, welcome to Star Citizen. I'll guide you through some of the basics here. Blah 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 blah. Here's how you move. Here's how you fly a ship. Here's your little intro run. Okay, cool. Now you can actually jump into the actual Star Citizen, and off you go. Bye."
Or maybe when you load up the game,
assuming that I have. How do you introduce new players? Okay, so assume that you have that tutorial mode, and the guy's done, and now he's out in the verse. How do you introduce him to the varied mechanics of environments, and how hey, if you're going to be in a cold environment, you need to make sure you have.
Sorry.
I would imagine that a proper tutorial would cover those things to some extent.
Well, what they're doing, and this is one of the things that they recently announced. I don't know if it's going in 3.18 here, but So there is a deliverable that they have called the new player experience, and that would probably cover some of the basics of that tutorial in there too. But the whole idea is, hey, in that first 30 minutes with someone who's just been thrown into this, they have no idea what's going on there. They don't have anyone walking them through any of this stuff, or they aren't watching a YouTube tutorial or anything like that. They just saw it, it looked cool, they bought it, they're sitting here, now what? The new player experience is meant to go and guide them through, at least at a basic level. Here's how you function and not get your ass handed to you immediately because you didn't realize that if I go out into space without a helmet on in a spacesuit, I'm gonna fucking suffocate. Because if no one tells you that, how are you gonna know?
Right. And
But
that's where you need that
cover.
ability to die several times without it actually being impactful yet.
Or also
What
too,
if-
the option that if I'm on a ship, let's say it spawns me in this tutorial area, it spawns me in on a constellation, Andromeda or something like that, and it goes, hey, you need to go and put on your spacesuit before you're wearing your civvy clothes, like pants and a sweater or whatever, because you need to put on your spacesuit so that we can go outside and repair the MacGuffin that broke and put us in this little situation here, and it literally will not let you open up any of the doors or let you interact with anything else until you do what it tells you.
So the way I see it, there's three ways they can go about it. The first one's the old school way, which doesn't really work for Star Citizen because Squadron 42 is a separate game. But old school being like a lot of old, like obviously Halo or something like that. They'd say, hey, play the campaign first so that you know how the game plays before you jump into multiplayer.
Well, and also too, the campaign being a separate purchase.
Yeah, but that's why it doesn't work here. The second one being you lock off, like say you have the main menu's open, universe, and then these different Arena Commander and Star Marine simulation modules, and there's a tutorial one there.
That might work.
Like have that be a tutorial one, have a third one there, but the universe option, right? The game itself is locked out until you complete tutorial.
Yeah, no, I'd be down for that.
Like the main menu first booted up for the first time will say like must complete tutorial in order to play go into the universe. Obviously you have to complete it. Once you completed it, you can jump right in and play as normal.
Or again, going back to kind of what you were saying originally, Mando, I wouldn't say that you can't join the verse, but it strongly recommends it. So
like you have like three different warnings after you click on three different things. Like you click on the menu, like menu opens up for the first time. It warns you to complete tutorial first. You click on universe anyways. Warns you again. Like it keeps warning you until you
something. Yeah,
either that or it just locks out the option
if you
until
don't do this. If you don't do this tutorial, it basically explains Death of a Spaceman in a way that makes it clear that, hey, by bypassing the tutorial, you're essentially, you're going to start losing lives, and they're going to count, and you're not going to know why. That kind of an explanation.
It needs to lay the rules of the land.
I get the overall idea you're talking about.
The third option is the RPG option, which is usually the first time you boot up an RPG, like say New Vegas or Cyberpunk. You're in essentially a starting area, like in a Good Springs or something like that. It's a little area of the game that you're kind of locked into for now that has all the gameplay elements that you're encountering, or at least most of them, or the important ones at the very least. And until you kind of complete that area, then you can move on to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of those. I know their purpose, and I understand why they're there. But to me, whenever I've gotten into a game, I've always been like, man, I just want to get into this game and experience it. Like I hate going through the tutorial process, and I find myself just clicking through, not even paying attention, because I'm like, this is meant for the new guy who doesn't even understand what WASD means.
Right.
Like,
Well,
And
that's why I'm
so I've
saying.
never been a fan of that style, but yeah, I
But
agree
those,
that
but
that
those are
is,
the
that would
three,
be.
or in this case, two different ways they can go about it. It's either you have a tutorial section that you have to play in order to get into the game, or
Yeah.
it's just warning you very strongly to do it first. Or the other one is the more traditional, in-game tutorial method that kind of gets really tiring after the round, or even the
Yeah.
first time around in some cases.
So
But if they do a
my
specific
2 cents.
tutorial,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm just
I'll
saying if
take
they
up
do
after you,
a
Mando.
if they do a specific tutorial, like it's a
Mando.
third option. If it's fun,
He doesn't care. He's talking.
you can replay it. But he never let me finish. Go ahead now.
No, I said I'll take up after you're done.
I'm done now.
Okay. So my 2
Okay, so
cents
there
is
I was. I'm
one.
kidding.
uh,
I got
I
one
think
more thing.
approaching this topic with the underlying fear that it's going to be too complicated for players and that death is going to be too punishing is a wrong way to look at it, because there's a
No,
lot that's going to happen between now and then. So I'm just going to put that out there. I don't think that's going to be a problem because there's going to be a lot of balancing, and I don't think that death is going to be that punishing starting out because I mean, CIG ultimately wants it to be
It's
fun. So there's going to be some side effects to it, but it's not going to be you die once and then the rest of your gameplay experience for that character is ruined. I don't think that's
no,
anywhere close to what it's going to be like.
that wasn't what I was trying to imply. It was just more like, hey, it kind of sucks if, and I'm just picking a random number for the sake of this conversation, but let's say you've got 10 lives is what the mechanics of Death of a Spaceman is before you got to worry about it. It kind of sucks when you're a new player and you know that you're trying to learn and you've already burned through 5 of those lives, kind of a thing, until you know what you're doing, kind of a thing. It's not necessarily a negative impact, but it's just kind of, when you're that new player, you're kind of like, man, it'd be nice if there was a newbie zone. I'm using that. That's probably a really bad term. I don't mean that as an actual physical zone. I just mean like it'd be nice if there is a newbie time limit, where I can kind of learn without worrying about, am I burning through lives or not, whether it actually is impactful or not. It's just that new player who doesn't know that it's not going to be that impactful is stressing about it because he doesn't know. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I get where you're coming from, but I think the idea of a zone or uh, until you get to a certain point in the game, you just have infinite respawns. I think doesn't make sense to the game that CIG is trying to make. They're trying to make
And
it semi-realistic, so I think it should be the same for everybody starting out. I expect new people. They're going to have systems specifically set up for new people who don't know what they're doing. And on the main screen where you decide where you're going to spawn, assuming that it stays the way it is, then they'll have a list. This place is very lawful. It's very safe. If you don't know what you're doing, start here. But I don't think they should pigeonhole everybody and force them to start in the same place. If you're experienced, you know what you're doing, you can start wherever you want. You can go wherever you want,
yep.
Now
and you
here's
take
a
the
thought.
responsibility for your safety on yourself.
Now here's a thought though, because I was just kind of thinking about this. So, I mean, if they do want to go and have like what you guys were saying before about the idea of like, hey, before you can jump into the actual universe, you got to go through the tutorials here. You
I just want
could
to go
pretty
say I don't like that hoop at all, but continue.
that's fine. But on something of that idea or some flavor variation thereof, you could very easily have it to where when someone does jump in first, the first thing they get is, hey, here's Arena Commander, because as we know, Arena Commander and Star Marine are a video game simulation in Star Citizen. You could have something along those lines of, hey, here's a simulated 101 exploration guide for surviving in the branded here's the RSI guide to survival in the stars, whatever the fuck. And let it be known, hey, this is not you are not in the game yet. Here's all the stupid shit you need to know. Okay, now we're dumping out into the game. but and giving hey, if you forget, you take your helmet off in space, you're gonna fucking die.
That's I thought that's kind of what Mando meant by his option 2, which
Yeah.
was have it
It's
in,
just
in
better
the,
convey
in the verse.
data on the screen.
Sorry.
Or it's just to better convey what data on to the player in the menu. Also, I was also thinking more along like you have a separate, the Arena Commander and Star Marine, and maybe have a tutorial be a third option, like the specific crafted, actually it's a scripted tutorial, but that teaches you all the basics. But if not, then just point them towards Arena Commander and Star Marine. The thing is that they are very, at least as they are right now, they are limited compared to the actual game. But
I was picturing it's like essentially you have the little, the sim unit thing that you climb into, and it gives you the option to basically like, hey, join Star Marine, join Arena Commander, and then it has another one that says tutorials, and then you can click on different scenarios there of like, hey, ice planets or surviving in harsh weather, and you click on that tutorial, and boom, it immerses you in a ice planet adventure that teaches you all about thermal thermal protection and how to move and what the winter wind and snow can do to you, blah 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 blah. But yeah, it's all set up in a way like, hey, new player, if you want to learn, this is where you go do it. If you don't, click on the place you want to spawn at.
Yep. No, that makes sense. Also,
I'd be down for that.
No, those also like very scripted linear tutorials in SimPod can also serve as kind of like a taste quadrant. Like, here's this story-ish tutorial that you can venture that teaches you the basics, and go, oh hey, some of this scripted stuff is pretty cool. Maybe I'll check out Squadron.
I do agree with what Data's saying, is that a lot of what we're conjecturing on, I think they are going to have. There is a lot of mechanics that we're not even thinking about that they will have, in the game, that is probably going to help support that new experience.
Oh, absolutely.
So I
was just looking at it from a game design perspective. Like, how do you do a tutorial? Because there's like 3 different major ways to go about it depending on the game. One of the 3 is the least annoying.
Well, I honestly think that Sorry, go ahead.
But you also need to consider the kind of game that CIG is making. They're trying to make this an immersive first-person realism-ish style game. So the typical MMO style tutorial doesn't make any sense for this kind of game, because MMOs are not built to be FPS immersive realistic. This is a living world and you're doing things in it. They're a fantasy. You're going somewhere else. It's not meant to be realistic. So when you're thinking about how to communicate things to the player, you also, assuming CIG is going to continue with that idea, and I think they will, you also have to approach it in a semi-realistic way. So I don't think having
how do you okay, I agree with you, Data, but how do you the problem with that idea is that you're assuming like CIG is trying to make it realistic, so then you would have grown up in that environment and you would know all this stuff intuitively because you grew up there. But you can't do that because this is a player jumping into the game. He doesn't have that background or that experience. How do you get him to that level where he's a citizen who's grown up in the universe to have basic knowledge and understanding of how things work? There has to be a kind of trade-off somewhere there.
SimPod tutorial. I mean, maybe not labeled tutorial, but
what I mean is, I guess I'm specifically talking about like the newbie zone, like you would get in a traditional MMO where you start on an island. It teaches you all the mechanics. It doesn't matter whether you die.
No, we were saying those were bad ideas.
Yeah, so you can't do that in this style game. There are definitely places where they can have tutorials. If you're going to take a mission onto a frozen world where you need specific equipment, I wouldn't expect that to be at the very beginning of the place you start. Since we don't really know what the starting of somebody in the PU at the very beginning is going to be like, it's really hard to try to theorize
Yeah.
what kind of environments you're going to be in because we absolutely have no idea. And they clearly understand the need to have some kind of tutorial system where you learn the mechanics. But I think part of the fun of Star Citizen is kind of learning things as you go. I wouldn't want to see the exploration and figuring some things out, not the things that'll kill you immediately, but the little bits that can make things easier. I wouldn't want to see all that just be split off from the game entirely and buried in some sim pit somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. I am in no way implying that we should have, complete immersion tutorial. I'm thinking of like the basic tutorial level of like, hey, this is a space simulator. You need to be worried about, like you guys are saying, oxygen, having your helmet on. You know, don't run out of EVA fuel because there is no way back. You know, like those basic, simple concepts that we as players, having been playing for a long time, we already know it. But think about if you've like all you've done is played Dungeons and Dragons and suddenly you play Star Citizen. How do you convey those very simple, what we consider simplistic ideas to somebody who's coming in for
Yeah,
the first time? That's
I
all
understand where you're coming from. At the same
that's the only
time,
level of tutorial I would be in. Go. Sorry.
yeah, at the same time, you learn by your mistakes to some degree, and
Right.
uh, sometimes you have to have a punishing death. You have to die horribly to fully realize and for it to hit home. Hey, there's things that I need to think about in this game, and I'm not saying the consequences should be horrible, but I think we've all had those moments where we do something stupid and then we pay for them, and like, yeah, that was dumb. I shouldn't do that again. And those are moments that you're going to remember. So one, it happened. It might suck at the time, but it's something you can look back at and laugh at. And it's also you realize it gives you a realization about other things that you need to think about before you go on adventures or take certain missions, that sort of thing.
Well, I've got Data Machine's new hashtag. Suck it up, Buttercup.
Hike up the skirt, Nancy.
No, I hear you, and I partially agree with you. But I also think that there has to be some kind of safety net to some degree. Not
But
not
the
always,
safety
but
net is that there's never going to be a time where you're just done. Like the character you started with might eventually die or whatever, but since we don't know what the effect is going to be, how long it's going to take, how many times you have to die, what kind of death you have to have, then I think arguing that that's going to be a horrible problem for a new player is pointless since, I mean, there's just not enough information to say one way or another.
no, you got a point there. I was just raising it as a general. What do each of you guys think of it? I do. I'm not trying to imply that there is a right or a wrong answer to that in any way, shape, or
Yeah, there's obviously need for some tutorials because for someone who's coming in, there's so much that you have to learn. It's it's a very steep learning curve, so I definitely agree with you
yeah.
there. And CIG clearly understands this. I got faith that they're going to make some good decisions, and if they don't, we can just slap them around a little bit, put them back on the right track.
Damn.
I honestly think that beginner tutorials is on the same level as what something that was brought up previously um, on one of the Star Citizen Lives things. Doors in games. That's like one of the biggest problems in game development is how do you do doors, like the
Mhm.
mechanics and all that kind of stuff. And I honestly think that introduction tutorial is probably like if if not on the same level, then number two problem child of game development. Like, how do you convey information to a new player without being pedantic and causing more frustration than what you're trying to solve?
Yeah.
But that's adorable.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised with the door thing because I had no clue about that until I saw it discussed by a game developer, and then doing some actual internet research and finding out that like it's an industry-wide thing of like, fuck, we got to figure out how we're going to deal with doors, and
Yeah.
it's a surprisingly deep black hole. But anywho,
Which is why I'm always impressed with Halo 2's giant BSPs, giant moving pieces of geometry. Like, you think doors are bad? Someone had to make all that.
you think we'll ever get ring worlds in Star Citizen?
I mean, the tech is there. They easily could do one right now, theoretically. I'm not so sure. Through mods, probably, yeah.
I don't know. Does it make sense for ring worlds to exist in the Star Citizen universe? I'd say
Not
that's
when
the
we
more
have Synth World.
relevant
So,
question.
no. But in regards to can it exist within Star Citizen, like tech-wise, game design-wise, yes. Will they do it? Probably not, because they have Synth World. So we're gonna have an artificial world like celestial body. It's gonna be Synth.
I mean, look at ArcCorp.
That's just a natural world that's been taken. Structures. Synth World is a completely.
As opposed to inanimate structures.
What about animated structures?
We don't talk about those.
Wait,
Although-
they made structures out of anime?
Purely
Oh my.
synthetic built trees and grass that'll wave in the wind. Is that what you're talking about?
They wave in the wind, but there's no wind.
Yeah, exactly. It's all a simulation without any natural elements.
Anytime you see a cat, another cat that looks just like it walks right behind it.
Aha! I thought of an idea.
Uh-oh.
Creating a ring world around the black hole system that's in the Star Citizen. There's a reason. Because there's no planets there.
There's 2 planets in that.
Damn.
They're dead worlds, but they exist.
You're dead to me, Mando.
The worlds orbit the black hole too. It's all...
Alrighty then.
Moving along with the studio report. Never get this done. They also worked on implementing AI group investigation, allowing multiple AI to search an area while sharing information. So this way,
That's cool.
yeah. Essentially, yes, search parties.
As long as it's not all knowing.
All what?
All knowing?
Oh,
Really?
no, it's
Like
gonna be like the
I'll use
xenomorph from
Arma
Alien.
again. Arma has a problem that when you shoot an AI, pretty much whoever is in that AI's group, in other words, like if they're attached to a squad or a platoon, when you shoot that AI, within like a fraction of a second, your location is shared to everyone else in his squad. No matter how well placed your shot is, you forehead shot that guy, instantly shut his lights out. His squad knows where you're at.
And it's not even like
Because the game code that they have automatically shares whatever that AI knew, even if it's in the process of dying, it automatically shares with everyone else in its group. That's what I mean by I don't want them to be all knowing. I'm okay with sharing info, but it should be realistic in the sense of like whatever the environment allows. In other words, did the guy have time to make a voice comms to his buddy? Then
Yeah.
absolutely. Like that's the main thing I'm pointing.
unless you're dealing with robots, then in which case the Arma deal makes sense.
Well, supposedly that's the Karthak or whatever they are.
Or Terminators.
I mean,
Barely know her.
It'd be a as big a deal in Star Citizen because the way the AI already function, it's not like they all know exactly where you are all the time. I think it's going to
Yep.
be way more location based, whether you're in cover, sound based, because sound is going to have a lot to do with knowing where people are for both AI and players, I think. So
Yeah,
I think it's going to be
Agreed.
way
I'm
more
down for that.
sophisticated than what people are generally used to.
Also, here's one other thing that most games don't have. I hope they actually go with smell. And what I mean by that is tie it into things like maybe the type of equipment that you're wearing, depending on the environment that you're in, might have effects, smell effects. So if you're like hiding in grass, but you're wearing a certain type of armor that has a certain, I don't know, component tied, designed into its construction, maybe it gives off a notable smell, or maybe you're having an your whatever you're wearing might be having a interaction with the environment in the sense of like maybe you're in an acidic environment, and so slowly what you're wearing is being dissolved, and if it has a certain substance residue, it gives off a certain smell as that acidification happens. It not over like great distances or anything, but I think that would help tie in to gameplay mechanics for hunting wildlife, which they've said they want to do, but
Yeah, I think
also
that'd
tie it
be
in.
awesome.
That would be cool.
Also, another option is, because they've said that they want to do it, is they want you to have like body odor, and if you haven't showered or shaved, or done your daily cleanup rituals over a certain period of time, you'll start getting comments and looks from AI like, dude, you need to take a shower, man. Or maybe this isn't the restaurant that you want to come into because we have standards. Like that kind of mentality in the gameplay.
Yeah.
Let the walking corpse out.
Yeah.
I don't know about
Of
like
course.
combat with the maybe some of the other races like the avian race that might have better smell, but for hunting, I think that would be amazing. Especially
I think
mixed
they
with
Yeah.
the
should.
atmosphere system. So, if you find yourself downwind of a predator or something, or upwind, I mean,
Absolutely.
they'd
Yeah.
be able to smell you and then cue into where you're at. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I like what you're thinking about the other alien races too, though. Like maybe they, certain ones have a heightened sense of smell, so they can smell you, further away than you can smell them.
Yep. And then there's
Yeah.
going to be the races that don't have noses.
Yeah. But just having those options in the game, I think would be cool. Using smell as a gameplay mechanic would be good. The main gist.
Now in smell-o-vision.
Because I notice a lot of games don't bother with that, or they do it
It's
in a
because
very
it's hard to
arcadey
communicate.
way. True.
Like vision, you can understand how vision works, but how do you accurately communicate to a player that they smell bad and that other things or people around them might be able to smell it at a certain range? Or
You have little fumes going up above their
I was about
faceplate,
to
little
say, yeah, you're
flies
gonna have
buzzing around.
the visible smell lines like a cartoon.
Linus,
yeah, because that makes
Yeah,
sense in an immersive realism game.
of course. You don't see them in
it's
real life
minus
either.
30 below outside, and it's minus 300 in your EVA, but you can smell yourself because you got flies going around. That's
You
immersion.
guys can see smell lines in real life? What?
Yeah. No, I hear
It was
you.
Pigpen, not Linus.
Oh, sorry, Big Ben.
Linus was the one with the blanket.
I know,
Anyway,
but I
it
always,
is a
for
very
some reason,
interesting
I
idea.
always thought that blanket was dirty.
Who knows?
Anyways, because he never put it down.
Doesn't know he's always sucking his thumb too. Anyway, the ship art team worked on the Argo SRVs and Greybox. Unannounced ship for final art pass. Got another unannounced vehicle for final review. The Aegis Hammerhead resource management continued in Components Bay. Got the Miss Call C progress made on key issues. The Drake Corsairs and final art. Drake Vultures in progress. The engine team continued code optimization in the physics engine. Brushes no longer no longer awaken their environment. Brushes are a form of 3D primitives like cubes or capsules, i.e. templates. The transition to Gen 12 continued, including atmospheric rendering and improved threading approached on the core engine. Character and weapons feature team revisited ladder traversal, looking into multiple exit points, 360 view, jumping, and bridge. Or no, they're looking at yeah. They also cleaned up actor rotation hand. Gameplay features team resource network progress on Hammerhead and Hall A. Now starting looking into Ares and sized ships. Life support work finalized and is awaiting downstream support. Gravity generator progress, and salvage is now in QA test request phase. Mission feature team packing more content into Rhea, Prison, and Orson's many platforms, because platforms are the law system and everything coming in. Sure. Discuss tackling combat logging, investigating how to lessen the impact of crime stats obtained bugs, improvements planned on release soon. Time trial race prototyping and investigating renting/spawning necessary vehicles at the location. And design docs and foundations work for bounty hunting version 2, almost complete, which includes bounty drop-offs and virtual NPCs. The vehicle feature team focuses on new MFDs. They focus on new MFDs and integrated ship UI, allowed solving technical hurdles with the feature. Significant research also went into combat AI for fighters. New MFDs should be nice. Last time we heard anything about that.
Yeah.
No idea.
Also, I heard with the crime stat thing, I don't know, man, can't think of where I heard it though. I thought I heard that they were talking about adjusting the crime stat system so that now levels 1 and 2
1 and 2, yeah.
will not require a wipe or won't require you to go to
You won't be
KSP.
automatically attacked with a CS1 or 2. You can go pay them off fine-wise.
Gotcha. I thought that was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
That'll be good, especially with the new law system coming into play, where you can only hack at Korea.
Yeah.
But they talked about they're doing new missions and stuff at prison.
We were talking about the law system and how it's going to be more punishing since Korea is the only place that you can hack. And then, like 2 days later, they put out a post on the forum saying that they're reevaluating how crimes are given to people, and that's where they stated that CS1 and 2 will not restrict your ability to land in armistice zones, and you won't get automatically attacked, and you can pay them off to make things a little easier because of bugs and that sort of thing.
It was all us. It was because of that.
Yeah, it was all us. Yeah, we can take credit for it.
Yep. No, I think it's good. It shows that the community talking about it in general, I think, does have an effect. Like, we have a chance. Maybe not every time, but at least they're listening, I think.
I did like that they're in the studio report. They did mention bugs lessen the much punishment for a crime stat because of the bugs, and they're also tackling combat logging.
Yeah, that's a Gordian's knot, I think. No matter what they do, there's going to be some part of the community that's going to be upset with them. But I'm hoping they come up with the right choice.
Sorry? The end goal was never to allow combat logging. It's just because the way the system is right now, it doesn't stop it from happening. But
yeah,
in the future, as long as things work the way that the tech works the way CIG wants it to, nobody.
There's not going to be combat logging. Yeah.
Yeah. You can log out, but that doesn't mean you're not going to still
But you'll log back in a
get
hospital
killed or
probably.
captured or whatever. Yeah.
Let's see, graphics, VFX programming, and Planet Tech team. Damage map tech for salvage is running bug fixing, adding persistence. Several VFX and particles being ported to Gen 12, and CPU offloading to Planet Tech. Significant benefits. Locations, outlaw themes for colonialism outpost. Grass with Pyro's ruin station, adding more routes and active patches. Revamped underground facilities, including interactable props. Worked on landing zones, Intergalactic Aerospace Expo tasks, law and bounty offices. Rhea. Upgraded derelicts with AI, loot, and other features, and reworked Lorville Cityscape, Greybox, and building interior. The last two are interactables, developed prototypes for deployable props, bug harvestables, and ration consumables. Tools, they released Mighty Bridge version 0.2, new object spawner and cable generator tools for dev team, near completion of procedural space station settlements. So they made some significant progress, I think. And a lot of this stuff is going to be in Alpha 3.18.
Guaranteed.
How dare you?
Did did you? I don't know if you guys already talked about this. Is there any news on the status of 318?
There is some, yes. Last
Toontium.
during essentially
Evocati supposedly by the end of the month.
Okay.
trying to find that roadmap roundup again. Last week
But
we got
a lot of the Star Citizen content writers out there are skeptical of that date,
Yeah.
and are saying that we the normal players probably won't be getting 318 until like February,
Probably.
March.
Oh wow, that late.
Oh yeah, like mid to end first quarter.
Because according to the roadmap
beginning
roundup
of second.
data, according to the roadmap roundup from last week, Alpha 318 is on track for Evocati later this month. The goal is to release 318 live in the first half of November before IE will be a part of 318.
Yeah. So I would definitely be skeptical of their live release schedule,
Agreed.
but I think they're going to probably release it to at least wave 1 probably sooner than later, because there's only so much that Evocati can do to fix bugs and do massive testing, which is what they really need. So it's definitely going to
Yeah.
probably be a hot mess when they first release it.
Always is.
Yeah.
That reminds me, the roadmap itself got updated. The Drake course there is now on the roadmap for 318, along with new interdiction scenarios and environmental roadmap.
I'm just gonna rename 318 in my own head to ships on blocks because of what's gonna happen when you get the being able to strip the ships. That's
Have
just
y'all talked about salvage yet?
Yeah, but I mean,
Okay.
we're open to your ideas.
Well, I'm a little bit disappointed that hull stripping is just a beam. I understand why. Like technically, it makes more sense for it just to be a beam mechanic, both putting down and tearing off, because it'd be a massive effort to make it more physicalized. But what I'm really looking forward to is how they're going to do like full ship scrapping, which we're probably not going to see for a long time. But dismantling the actual structure of the ship. Like, are you going to be able to chop
Yeah.
it apart where it's normally breaks, or are they going to have some kind of other system that's going to allow you to crack a ship in half, or is it more just going to be you bring a reclaimer up, the reclaimer grabs it, it pulls it into a bay, the doors close, and then you don't get to see it, but it just says, okay, now we're tearing it apart, kind of thing.
now you get X number of components and G
Yeah, over a
amount
particular
of
time or whatever.
ore material.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well. But I agree. I think that's going to be a long time before we see anything related to that. But I do think this next patch is going to be just you're you're going to see ships flying around that are just stripped down because of other players just running around stripping anything.
Yeah, I imagine it's gonna give you a crime stat, though, if you try to strip somebody's ship that doesn't belong to you or isn't considered.
That's
How are they gonna consider it salvage, though? That's also interesting. And
I
If
brought
it's
that
I
up. I
claimed,
imagine
was
if
like,
it
I
gets
hope
marked
they
as
do that.
stolen. So maybe
yeah,
if they claim the ship,
I imagine that a ship that has shields on, you won't be able to interact with it until you take the shields off, that sort of thing.
Does that go in
oh,
the tutorial? New player, make sure you leave your shields on.
Yeah.
but turn your engines off.
Turn your engines off, but leave your shields on. Otherwise, your ship will be stripped.
Press I, then Y.
But why?
Also, I have to say, the way they've got the cargo set up on, it's not the Vulture. What were they? Was it the Reclaimer? How where they showed how stripping was planned to work, where you had somebody in the like the cargo bay of the Reclaimer grabbing those boxes, and
I'm behind
they
on
would
the
like
inside
have to
Star
put them
Citizen.
on an elevator, and the elevator would move down to the storage room, or whatever. I thought that. I guess I understand why they did it that way, but wouldn't if you had a ship that was made to do exactly what the Reclaimer is meant to do, take a ship apart. Wouldn't those resources and boxes automatically be routed into the storage bay so you didn't have to have people wasting their time loading it on an elevator and then elevatoring it down into the storage compartment?
You'd think that.
But gameplay data, gameplay. No, I
Yeah.
agree with you. I agree.
I thought that was kind of silly. I know why they did it, but I don't like that kind of design choice where they're creating content by making the designs bad.
Yep.
Well,
Uh,
not talking about ships, wrecks. Got the derelicts of Daymar inside Star Citizen from 2 weeks ago. Uh,
yeah, that
Apparently,
600i was pretty impressive. What they were showing they had done to it.
the 600i within a cave entrance and Mercury Star Runner in sand dunes. They got both are near a new outpost settlement made from the scrap of crashes included in 318, along with everything else. So,
That's all great and everything, but Cam still wants to know where his repelling is.
boon,
Give now.
give repelling. Send that to
I
Jared.
mean, we need all the caves to make repelling interesting before we can actually get repelling.
I demand now.
The sprint
Surrender
report
your spleen.
from 2 weeks ago
But
showed colonialism outposts, props, and dressings, gameplay test featuring homestead exterior and interiors, and client-side service and repair. Then last week's Vulture venture, Vulture, salvage gameplay catered towards exploration and discovery. Extends the life cycle of ships from fully destroyed to wrecked to salvageable. First iteration is hull scraping, split into two parts: vehicles and FPS. The Vulture and Reclaimer be functional salvagers. Salvage mode use. Sorry, whoever took these notes sucks. These are from the Star Citizen League. The
I do have
Vulture.
another question when you got a second.
Yeah, what's your question?
So we know that we're going to have Vulture hull scraping and repairing. I'm assuming that works the same way as like
I think they
the
said so.
multi-tool attachment.
Yeah.
So I noticed that in the video when the Vulture does its hull scraping, you got the big 1 SCU crates coming out. how are we going to be able to like charge our little hand repair beam? Like, are we going to be able to take some of that material that the vulture is hole scraping and like get these little? Are we going to be able to transfer it from one or the other? Like, I wonder if that's going to be a thing, or
Are you
you can
talking about the
only.
actual material, or are you talking about
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
a
the
power
actual
source for it?
material. No, I'm talking about the material. So, like the vulture, is it going to have a little station on the wall somewhere where you can charge your little hand repair tool canister, or is it going to be if it's in an SCU box in it, you can't transfer it between the two? I hope you can, but I'm curious whether they've thought about that or not.
Hopefully they did, and
Confused
time will
because
tell regardless.
the way you're describing it sounds like you're saying what exactly is it that you're trying to do? 'Cause if you have the multi-tool,
Okay,
my understanding is you can aim it at something, hit the beam, and then it'll collect whatever that material is and create a like a SCU of it, correct?
yeah. What I mean is, so when you're scraping a hole, the larger ships produce an SCU box of material, right?
Right.
So presumably your smaller hand tool is going to have some mini cartridges, I guess. They
Oh,
haven't
I
really
see what.
described how
Okay,
that's going to work. So, like, if you're trying to repair something and you've got this material in the vulture, can you? How are you going to recharge your multi tool, or can you
got it.
recharge your multi tool with material that you've got from the vulture, or is it you just have to buy a whole bunch of little multi tool capsules from the station and you can't refill it from material that you've already scraped from a different ship, sort of thing?
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm thinking for phase one, they'll probably do some hand wavium, and it might be something like you have to have a certain backpack on or a backpack with a certain capacity, and it just kind of
Yeah,
dumps it into the backpack like you do with when you're hand mining gems, kind of a thing.
right. Yeah. That was another question that I had is how can the little hand multi-tool have enough capacity to repair anything significant on the ship other than like a little bullet hole without having some kind of
Maybe
like
it won't.
backpack storage?
So just
Yeah.
that dent will buff right out. Thanks to the multi-tool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would make sense though that it for the way the mechanics, how we think the mechanics might work if it had some kind of like nozzle attachment. So like you have a little hose you pull out of your backpack and plug it
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
multi-tool or something.
I
But
really
yeah,
hope they go
that's a
that
good
route.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus it'd be cool if they add physics to the hose this way when you're. But just that more tactical look and or not tactile look and
Well, I don't care
the
about
fact that.
that. I just when
Well,
I
no,
find
I
that
meant
person
like
who's still
it
scraping my
shows you,
ship, I want to
hey,
be able
there's
to
a
grab the
hose connected.
multi-tool and wrap it around his throat and yank on it, and choke him out.
Right, that too. But also, I meant like this way it shows, hey, there's a tube going to your multi-tool because that's how the stuff is getting to and from the multi-tool for you to use, as opposed to just magic.
I just want to choke the guy
Well,
out.
you just need to
You want
park in an
piano
armistice
chord.
zone and they've learned their lesson and you won't be able to hold scrape ships that are in armistice areas. So I'm sure they've learned their lesson, right?
If you say so.
It's gonna happen for sure. Soon, TM.
But for the salvage mode obviously uses the scraper. You have a material from any ship's hull. The reclaimer automatically fills boxes of recycled material composite (RMC), which can be stacked into cargo grids and sold. And the multi-tool salvage tool can be patch damage, such as, oh no, the armor on my wing is gone. Like, fix that. But yeah, they need to figure out how that's going to work. At least later on, obviously tier 0. We'll have to find
And
out.
I
Wait
think
and
they
see.
probably already have a good idea how they want it to work. They just haven't let us know because they need to make sure that it actually does work.
Just gonna jump in here real fast. I gotta roll out, guys. Good talk and enjoyed it. Look forward to next show. See you guys later.
Yeah.
All right, see you, man.
Drive fast, take chances.
Life model. Where to live life. Yeah, the Drake Vulture is a single-player salvage ship. Tracks and processes debris, junk ships. So 2 forward-facing arms with dual salvage turrets. 2 ship. 2 ship entries, a ladder on the side. And for anyone who's been at the Drake Defense Con, fooled around with the Vulture, knows how to move around it. But yeah, it's got 2 entries. Ladder on the side and the front, and the cargo ramp. Yeah, that's.
It does have a very nice industrial look to it.
I like it. I like it. I mean, I am a fan of the Drake ships, their design, and some of their functions.
Well, that ship in particular kind of reminds me of a Caterpillar excavator.
Gonna run to see you guys.
All right. Yeah.
Is this something I said?
I know, right? Like, you show up and they all want to leave. You know what? It's because you're famous now.
Am I? I don't think I am, but okay.
You're the racing champion of XGR. I don't know. The progress tracker. They added the Apoa Santayok, the Beyond fighter, now back on the progress tracker, along with the RSI Apollo, Temporal Ranger, and Resistant Hank.
Okay.
Moved some of those for. Well, you weren't here earlier. We were talking about CitizenCon. What do you think is going to...
I have no idea. I hope it's cool. I hope it's fun. But in terms of like what they're going to show or people they're going to talk to, I don't know.
Because they did, the announcement did talk a little bit about, in-engine tour of many planets in Pyro, which probably, at least from what we know of right now, the highlight, most likely.
Yeah. Things I would like to see are, honestly, I'm not sure I want to see much of Pyro shown to me because I'd rather like
Explore it
and
for
experience
yourself,
it
yeah.
myself. But I would like to see the ideas they have for like QT travel because I wasn't impressed with the previous versions that they had.
The
I'd kind of like to see what that looks like. So
the
maybe
jump
I
point,
get
you mean?
voice feedback. Or
The-
not QT, I'm sorry.
the
Like
jump
wormhole
point.
travel.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree. First off, I wasn't a fan of the watery look visually.
Yeah. I don't like the gates either. Like the circular gate
Oh my,
system
you mean just
that's
the
been done too
oversized
many
Stargate?
times. Yeah.
I mean, it was
It's been
just an
done too many
oversized Stargate.
times in too many games. I want to see something fresh and interesting.
I liked the concept, the original concept art for that looked pretty cool. Where there's like actual station bits side of it.
Yeah.
Like it doubled as it's essentially an interstellar port. I mean, it goes from one
Right.
star system to another. It should have like modules and habs and places to stop at.
Yeah.
Your only reason to go there should not just be because it takes your area.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Like the original design, it was a ring. It was still a circle, but it had a little bit asymmetrical kind of design to it. Station aspect.
Yeah, I mean the wormhole idea has been done so many times. Like I would honestly prefer them to do more like a Deep Space Nine deal where the wormhole's not always open on one end, or maybe it is. I don't know. Just I don't like the big massive structure of a gate, and then you have the blue whatever color on the inside. That's like a Stargate
And
wall
that is just Stargate,
of
yeah.
water. Yeah, I mean at least make it like a warp effect on the inside of the ring because literally
make it
a
look
wormhole
not
is
like
supposed
water.
to be. Yeah, it's like think of it like space is folded on itself, and the wormhole is connecting 2 points between the two. So theoretically, if you looked in it, light would be all kinds of warped and weird. It would not look.
Ideally,
like
I would love like even what they have on the star map on the website would be better. Like that type of Ideally, it would be great if it's essentially. I mean, obviously, they can't do this due to the limitations of technology in the game, but they could get around it using some tricks, like just essentially light tricks of the light. Essentially, having it be that you can kind of see the pyro system as a as a essentially a ball within
Yeah.
the ring, because that's what a wormhole theoretically would look like. You're just seeing a different set of stars within a ball. Space and time warped around itself like that. Honestly, they need to make it a bit more visually stunning. Maybe that would be plenty
Different.
enough, but
Yeah,
visually
it needs
different,
to be different
to surrounding
than,
environments.
all the other stuff that other games have
Hell,
already done.
even
Games and
basing
TV
it off
shows.
of like a Transformers space bridge would be better than Stargate style.
Yeah.
I will say this: I rather blue over purple. A different color would definitely. Orange, maybe.
Yeah. How about the color of space? Black.
Well, that's why I want it to just be an orb, or like you just have an orb of stars essentially.
Yeah.
You look at it and it's like, oh, this is not matching the environment. 'Cause, like you see like these orange gas clouds and stuff inside that ball, inside that sphere, but like this weird effect. It'd be. No, so there's not, as far as I'm aware, there's not going to be no demo unless they surprise us with something.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. The
Yeah.
keynotes were underwhelming, I would say.
Yeah, we were
from
talking
my
earlier about how like most of the time they do a demo, it's usually not delivered upon.
I'm okay with them doing the demos, but I didn't. I guess I didn't like the way they tried to just script the story and have the dialogue. Just show me some gameplay from a person who knows how to play the game.
Oh, they will be doing a thing about resource management system rework on Lorville.
Yeah, okay. The Lorville rework is interesting to me.
Also, a reimagining of underground facilities.
At Lorville or
Just in general, it doesn't specify.
Okay. Yeah. Those also
Septic
need
system
touch
one.
up.
We need those caves, right? The quote unquote caves, sewer tunnels. We got underground locations for everywhere except for ArcCorp. We need sewer systems for all the cities and urban
Yeah.
centers.
I want some of those Shadows of the Empire sewer vibes.
I want to be able to run into like a weird group of people to live in the sewers of Lorville. We're the resistance.
I mean, you know they have to be, right? There's gotta be
Where
people
else are they
down
gonna
there.
live? It's Lorville.
Yeah.
The entire place is a sewer. But they can do some cool mission. Like you can have like a Nine Tailed or something mission that plant the bomb or do something in this, something nefarious. This whatever location you're at. Say, hey, we need you to do maintenance on something in this job. Or you have a combat mission there to a legal version of okay, Nine Tails. We have word Nine Tails is going to do something. Stop them.
Yeah, it's another bit of gameplay that we haven't heard anything about in a while is uh, just missions around a landing location, like repair, like fix this, fix that, go here, go that, go there. all the interesting bits of Orson that don't work yet.
Yeah. Mainly the watch-face platform, Providence platform.
Yeah. And I'm
I mean,
looking
they,
forward to that content also.
That's one of the last time they really mentioned anything. Talking about possible missions around. Be interesting to get like maintenance missions like that on stations too, like you're at Crew L1 or
Yeah.
Preston L4. And we got Pirate Week last week too. But Pirate Week is back Monday, September 19th. Yesterday, sorry. Tuesday. Talk like a pirate day, and we're celebrating in style. And they had all the events going on last week. I think today is the last event. Lockdown. Although it probably ended by now.
Ninetales Lockdown just started.
Oh, did it?
Mm-hmm.
Says it starts Tuesday at 1 p.m. Okay.
Okay, well maybe. Okay, I say just started. I
Started
guess it
today.
just
I
spun up
thought
on
they
the
were
server
starting
again.
at the same times as Siege of Arson last time around, last go. No, they're all at 1 p.m.
Yeah,
Eastern.
that's probably accurate.
Like 1 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, you
Anyway,
had Siege
Ninetales
of
is
Orson
running
Thursday
right now.
last week, right after the free fly ended, and then they were alternating between Siege of Orson and ending with. And I missed all of it.
Yeah, Orson is still really buggy, and a lot of the fixes that they put in for character position updates seem like they've gone kind of backwards.
And the free fly
I
probably
don't know
didn't
if
help
there's
any
extra
because
server strain or like, yeah, people are
it
just
was probably
teleporting
due
all
to the
over
fact
place
that
now.
the event started the same day the free fly ended.
Yeah, maybe.
All I know is I can't wait for the proposed platform combat mission. Siege of Orson assets reused for combat mission around Crucible, not specifically
Yeah.
at Orson. Which means that you might actually be able to move around. I might actually function. Yeah, I think that's it, unless you got anything. Going
do
on with
not.
the racing stuff?
Stand Cup. The XGR Stand Cup has been put on hold because the change the CIG made to the way streaming happens for space station environments has basically made all the zero G tracks that we have unplayable because there's constant stuttering, freezing around areas. So it's on hold until CIG can fix whatever's causing that problem.
That sucks. Kind of seems like the state of things right now.
Yeah, we're
Everything's on a holding pattern.
it's really funny because I want to say that kind of happens every time they're close to releasing a big content patch. There's a bunch of things that we're just waiting to get fixed.
Happened with 314.
Yeah.
I don't think no. I think 314 it did happen. It always happens this time of year specifically. Like this area of like August, September, and October are very very dry Star Citizen months. And then late October, November, and December are just bam, everything just like kicks in. But at least with 3.14, you did have some new gameplay elements come in with that patch. So it wasn't, and you had Crusader, so it wasn't as dry. I think whereas like the last major update, 3.17.2, but just for Orison now, the Siege of Orison is done. It's just a regular patch. That was the only thing that really made it stand out.
Yeah, at this point, I guess I'm more interested in like bug fixes and stability than I am in coming out with
Agreed.
extra content. The content is great and all, but I would rather I would rather the things that are in the game now work reliably than to get extra things that are just still broken.
Yep. Also, I'm glad you mentioned that there's been performance issues. I thought it was just me.
No, it's just about every space station. If you're constantly flying anywhere near the inside area, every time there's a bubble around it. Anytime you enter or exit that area, you're streaming stuff in and out, and it causes massive hitches and freezes for I think everybody. It doesn't matter what kind of system you have.
It's a server issue,
Obviously,
so
lower
yeah.
end systems are going to have more problem, but it's hitching and stuttering for just about everybody.
Last time I played was the first night of the free flight. I think that's it though. Unless anything else. We did the roadmap roundup. We did studio reports. We CitizenCon and ShipShowdown stuff. Checking very quick. What?
Hello and welcome.
Yeah, no, I think. So we want to shut it down?
Yep, I'm good.
All right. Well, for anyone that's watching, whether you're catching this live or watching this on the rerun later, thanks for watching. Enjoyed, and catch you guys next time. Don't know when that will be, because I'm not going to be available next week.
We'll see you when we see you.
Yep. Care and have a good one, wherever you are.